Hey everyone, Knight here. The topic of time travel has always been fascinating to humans. It's probably due to the fact that we are just as fixated on the events of the past as we are of the future. Just imagine traveling to the past, or imagine someone from the future showing up through a portal in your home. I will be telling you 5 stories of creepy interdimensional travel. Each of these stories will follow up with the time travel caught on tape. Enjoy. On a seemingly normal day in 1954, a seemingly normal man allegedly flew into Tokyo. But upon landing at the Tokyo International Airport, his seemingly normal trip had taken a very drastic turn for the weird. When he handed over his passport to be stamped, the man was immediately interrogated as to the whereabouts of his origins. It wasn't a case of racial profiling. While his passport looked authentic, it listed a country no one had ever heard of, called Tord. The mysterious man claimed his country was located between France and Spain, but when he was asked to point it out on a map, he pointed to the Principality of Andorra, insisting he had never heard of Andorra and that Tord had existed for 1,000 years. He claimed that he was in Japan on business, something he had been doing for the past 5 years. His passport seemed to back up his story, as it was covered in previous customs and visa stamps, and he carried with him legal currency from several European countries. He even had a driver's license issued by the mysterious country and a checkbook containing checks from an unknown bank. After more interrogation and confusion for both parties, the traveler was sent to a nearby hotel until an official decision could be reached. There, 2 immigration officials stood outside the hotel door until morning. It was then that they discovered the mysterious man had vanished without a trace, which was troubling, since the only possible exit was a window with no ledge 15 stories above the busy street. The Tokyo Police Department conducted an extensive search, but continually came up empty-handed. Hopefully, if he was really from a parallel Earth, he was able to find a way back to the comforts of his home in Tord. In this first video, it appears to be a portal appearing. The video is captured on a vehicle's backup camera. The portal begins opening as a horizontal swirling mirage appears in front of a concrete wall. 2 males come walking out of the portal. Then a second portal opens and 1 male walks out. The person that captured this video claims to believe it's 100% true. You see for yourself. In 2006, as Carol Chase McHenley was driving from Paris, California, back to her home in San Bernardino, she claimed she decided to stop in her hometown of Riverside. It didn't take long, however, for Carol to realize she wasn't in the right town, although its geographical location was correct. She claimed she couldn't find her childhood home or those of her other family members. In fact, she didn't even recognize any of the houses, even though all the numbers were still correct. Even the cemetery where her grandparents were buried was just a fenced lot full of overgrown weeds. Was she simply in the wrong town? This would be a strong theory had she not found some landmarks that were familiar, such as the college and the middle school. However, her relief in finding something recognizable was short-lived, as she soon noticed the eerie vibes surrounding the Riverside residents who were walking around. She soon left, afraid to approach any of these sinister beings. Carol believed she had stumbled upon a parallel dimension in which Riverside was a much darker place. Her story can't be confirmed because when she returned to Riverside a few years later for her father's funeral, it had reverted back to the town she knew as a child. She never encountered the alternative dimension Riverside again. At this soccer match, the camera will pan up to the crowd. In the crowd, you can see an individual running at high speeds through the stands. This is thought to be a time traveler warping into a portal. Check it out. In July 2008, a well-educated 41-year-old woman named Lorena Garcia woke up in her bed on what seemed like an ordinary day. However, as she went on with her normal routine, she claimed she found small details that seemed peculiar. For example, her sheets and pajamas were different from what she had remembered wearing to bed. She resolved to brush off the curiosity and drove to her place of work, where she had been employed for 20 years. However, upon arriving at her department, she realized it wasn't actually her department, despite being in its usual location on its usual floor. Having decided that something weird was definitely going on, she returned home only to find the man from who she says she had separated 6 months before, who acted like the separation had never taken place. Her new lover, who she claimed she had been seeing for 4 months, was nowhere to be found. Even after hiring a private detective, his whereabouts remain unknown. There was no trace of him at his alleged residence, nor any traces of his family. While it seems more likely that Garcia's perceptions are the result of some neurological malfunction, she believes she woke up in a parallel universe. Unfortunately, for the alleged dimensional traveler, Garcia has not been able to return to her normal universe, leaving her stuck in a dimension where she doesn't belong with a boyfriend she can't get rid of. In 2006, a Swedish man named Håkan Nordqvist thought it would be a good idea to climb under his sink when he crawled into a portal and momentarily traveled to the year 2042. He was able to meet his 72-year-old self and capture video. Look at the matching tattoos. In May 1972, 4 girls were allegedly driving back to Southern Utah University after spending their Saturday at a rodeo in Porche. While crossing the desolate Utah-Nevada state line at around 10 p.m., they came upon a fork in the highway, where they veered to the left and began driving through Gallatin Canyon. Suddenly, the black pavement turned into white cement. Believing they had simply taken the wrong turn, the girls headed back to the way they came. But to their surprise, they were suddenly driving past grain fields and ponderosa pines with no desert in sight. They decided to stop at a roadside tavern to ask for directions, but quickly changed their mind after one of the girls began screaming hysterically. 4 egg-shaped vehicles mounted on tricycle wheels with bright lights shining from the top of them began speeding after them. The petrified girls sped back through the canyon as the white cement changed back to its normal black asphalt, leading them into a familiar desert. After wrecking at a creek, leaving them with 3 flat tires, they waited until morning to hike to Highway 56, where they flagged down an obviously skeptical state trooper. As outlandish as their story seemed, the tire tracks they left are difficult to explain. The only tire tracks left by the girls' Chevy ended abruptly only 200 meters into the desert, which leaves the mystery of how the girls ended up over 2 miles north of the highway with no physical evidence of their travels. The car was also missing a hubcap that was never located. Maybe it got lost somewhere in the Utah desert, or maybe it was being displayed at a museum on the parallel Earth. In the CCTV footage, you can see a young man walk across an intersection in the early hours of the morning. A vehicle that is not paying attention drives head-on into the man. The man appears to drop into a portal and away from the danger of being hit by a car. The Marcahuasi Stone Forest lies in the Andes Mountains in Lima, Peru. The stones are almost like sculptures, taking eerie shapes like human faces, but no one is sure how they formed. As if that isn't spooky enough, the real mystery is the possibility of a dimensional door that is said to be located in the forest. According to Dr. Raul Rios Centeno, an investigator of the unexplained in Lima, a patient came to him about her extreme case of hemiplegia, a disorder that results in a complete loss of motor function in half of the body. When he inquired about the woman's condition, she revealed that she had been camping with friends in the Marcahuasi. According to the patient, they had gone out exploring late in the night and happened upon a torch-lit stone cabin filled with dancing revelers in the 17th century attire. The woman said that she felt an otherly world pull toward the cabin, but she was yanked away by one of her friends before she could fully enter. The accident left the side of her body that had entered the cabin paralyzed. Her test results revealed no discernible cause for her paralysis. Centeno believes the woman experienced a dimensional shift, producing a change in her nervous system's energy flow. Many natives as well as scholars believe that the dimensional doorway exists in the stone forest of Marcahuasi, which the woman and her friends may have unknowingly crossed. Hemiplegia may not be a great consolidation prize, but had she not pullen away, the woman may have been lost forever. This piece of footage shows a woman what appears to be talking on a cell phone. The thing that makes this footage very creepy is that cell phones were not invented for another 60 years. She displays all the same mannerisms as someone talking on a cell phone. You take a look at the footage and decide for yourself.